know if anyone is watching yet, but I like to start about a minute early. And I'm just checking to make sure all my screens are right, which it is not right now, but I'm going to start at exactly 9:30. My code editor is right. My browser is right. All right. It was so nerve-wracking, but so exciting at the same time. I love it. All right. One more minute, and then I will get started on today's very quick lesson. I say a minute, but it feels like the longest minute in the world. If anybody is watching, I'm not sure because I have the chat room open, but I don't see anybody participating yet. So I don't know if that means whether or not anybody's here. But if anybody is watching, welcome. Thank you for your patience. All right, it is 9:30 according to the clock on my laptop. So let's go. Good morning. My name is Raquel, and welcome to Raquel Teaches. Today, I'm going to be teaching a lesson on how to insert headings on a web page using HTML. And once again, it's going to be a very quick lesson, and let's get right into it. So, as usual, this lesson is kind of based on the lessons that are provided by W3 Schools. So, as you can see here, this is their tutorial on HTML headings, and I have provided a link to this in the description for this video that you can use to get further detail on using headings. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to insert a heading on a page, and I'm going to be continuing to use the web page that I've created in previous tutorials in this playlist series. Okay, so right now what the page looks like is like this, right? I like food, and so a lot of times my tutorials are going to have some kind of information about food in there. So this is a page that I've created about raisin bread and ingredients to make it and instructions on how to make it, right? And so what we're going to be doing today is inserting headings in here so we can see what they look like and how they work. So just a real quick introduction about headings. Remember that HTML is used for adding content to a website, right? So HTML is just for that. Content to the website and structuring that content. And so a lot of times structuring means organizing it or making sure that certain parts of the content are emphasized in a particular way. Now, headings are important when it comes to HTML because they help the reader to understand major topics or subtopics of what's being presented on the website. But it also helps with search engine optimization. And the way it does that is depending on the type of heading that is used for a particular piece of content, search engines will look at that heading tag and decide that this is an important topic or this is what this web page is about. And so we're going to highlight that in search results when people are searching for this particular topic, right? And so it's good to use headings throughout your content to emphasize main topics and subtopics and organize them accordingly. And also to be mindful that when you're using headings, that you use them appropriately. Make sure that it really should be highlighted and you're not just using headings just to get attention for a particular keyword, right? Because search engines can detect that too. And then what happens is when you use the headings inappropriately, they may even lead to your web page or website being de-indexed, which is not good, right? So you want to make sure that when you're planning your website that you decide what are the headings, what size headings they should be, where they should go. And, actually even before all those steps, you want to make sure that you want to determine whether or not something should even be a heading at all right? So in our example, I'm going to be inserting some headings. So the way that headings work, again, is with a tag. All HTML works like that. And there are different sizes of headings. So if we look at here on the W3 Schools webpage, it gives us examples of what the heading sizes look like. So since we're only doing HTML, we're not going to get too concerned with styling them, right? Because the tags that we use by default set a certain size and font look to these headings, right? Later on, when we get into CSS, we'll see that we can change the looks of those. But for right now, as we're setting headings, we're not going to give it any styling. We're just sticking to content here, content structure, and we're going to leave the styling by the default as is. Because it's good to know what it looks like by default before you start to make any kind of stylistic changes to it. All right? So HTML by default has 6 heading sizes, right? And they're all controlled by different tags. So the different tags start with the H1 tag and they end with H6. Um, One thing to note here when it comes to heading sizes is that the H1 tag represents the largest heading size and the H6 tag represents the smallest heading size. All right, so keep that in mind. I know it seems kind of counterintuitive backwards, but I didn't create HTML, I just use it. So we got to use it the way it is. All right, so remember, the smaller the number, the bigger the heading. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and switch over to the code editor. We can insert a heading tag. So let me switch to the code editor as well. That would make sense. So I'm here in this page that I've created before about the raisin bread recipe. And so what I want to do is I want to add a heading before the ingredients and then another heading before the instructions down here on how to make the thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a heading of size H3. So I'm going to place my cursor in the position where I want the heading to go, and I'm just going to put the heading tag and the content that I wanted to say. So the way we do it is a angle bracket. I'm going to do an H3 tag, so I'm just going to type the letters. I'm just going to type H3, closing bracket, and you know I like to always put the closing tag just in case. And again, when it comes to heading tags, I like to keep the opening and closing one on the same line. Headings generally shouldn't be very long, so this shouldn't be a problem when you're coding this. And so I'm just going to type the word ingredients. And just save that. So this is what it looks like. I did an opening H3 tag, typed the and the closing one, and then I typed in between the tag what it's going to say. So now let's go ahead and switch to the browser and let's refresh the page here. And what we should get is that the word ingredients should display above this list of ingredients, this bulleted list of ingredients, and it should display as a heading. All right, so let's refresh the page and see what that looks like. Boom. We get that. Let me try to zoom in just to make sure you guys can actually see it. But as you can see there, right, the word ingredients is inserted as a heading. It's kind of bold, right? And you see the bulleted list underneath it. That's all it takes to insert a heading, right? And you can insert headings as many times as you want in as many locations as you want on the page, right? So if we switch back to our code editor, we can add another heading right above the instructions, right? So let's go back to the code editor. Let's scroll down to the instructions and let's place our cursor right before it. Right? And we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing and use the same. Actually, I'm going to use a different size just so everybody can see what it looks like. I'm going to make this an H2 size. It's going to look awkward, but just so you guys see the differences. And you can play with it around with it on your own time. So I'm going to put the opening and closing, H2 tags, and then go in between it. And I'm going to put, I guess I should say, instructions. I'm not sure how that's really worded in recipes. I have to go look. But anyway, so what I've done is I've added a heading of H2 size, and the word that heading is instructions. So let's go ahead and switch back to the browser, and we're going to refresh this page, and then that heading should now appear above the instructions. So let's see what that looks like. Right? And we see instructions. And you'll notice here that the heading instructions is bigger, right, than the heading for ingredients. Remember I said the smaller the number, the bigger the heading size. All right? So that's all it takes to add a heading. You just use the heading tags. Make sure you put the heading tag size that you like. Insert your heading, and that's it. That's all it takes. So there you have it. That's how you insert a heading in an HTML page. What I would encourage you to do for practice is go ahead and continue your page that we talked about before. If you created a recipe page or whatever page that you created for practice before, and go ahead and add headings in appropriate sections on your page, and feel free to share it. Post a link to what you created in the comments for this video so that we can all see how everybody's coming along, and we can go from there. So hopefully, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please take a moment and hit the like button on this video. If you also would like to be notified of future live streams, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Okay, it's free, doesn't cost you anything. And feel free to share this video with people that you might find it helpful as well. I really appreciate it. So thanks again for taking the time to check in today. Go ahead and practice, have fun becoming a web developer, and I'll be posting another one soon. Thanks again, and God bless.